Does Danny White have a problem hiring splash over championships? Explain yourself, Caleb Calhoun, because I thought that you were leading me down that road a couple of days ago when you said Danny White liked the hires that have immediate impacts. I thought that's the road you were going down, the one I believe you're about to go down now, but you surprised me, which is a good thing. So, yes, when you ask me that question, I think he has a problem hiring splash over championships. And I will give you this comparison and tell me if I'm crazy. Had he had, let's say, somewhere around the time frame, a Gus Malzahn, a guy who had run an incredible offense in Arkansas, or a Nick Saban who had been at Michigan State and been okay. But the Saban guy is going to have to build you up over time. That Malzahn guy might have success right away because he's got the exciting offense. I think Tennessee fans should be concerned that White would take the flashy hire. No, now, nothing's been proven yet to that extent. Josh Heupel may end up being every bit as good as Nick Saban. But right now, I think it's a very fair concern, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes, and I did some research on Danny White's track record. And again, he's had very good success at programs. No national championships, though. I'm sorry, UCF fans, that 2017 undefeated season in which you hung a national championship banner in college football does not count. You didn't win the national title. Is that fair to say? They like that's
oh, absolutely
ridiculous.
No, that doesn't count. That's not even a factor in this conversation.
Yes, I give him credit for that team going undefeated and even beating Auburn in the I forget the bowl it was. It was a New Year's Six bowl, but yeah, they didn't win a national title. Danny White has consistently hired fun brands of whatever sport he's hiring for. And what I mean by that is,
well, and let me back you for a second, because he went out of his way on a local station in Knoxville and at the press conference to say, you know, that thing you like in Neyland Stadium where they get up and down the field, or that's what you're going to see with the women's basketball program. He went out of his way to say that. That was a talking point, Caleb, no question.
That stood out to me too. And it's funny you say that, because when he hired Josh Heupel 3 years ago, he said it with Josh Heupel. He said, I know we need more. I know everybody likes offense, and Josh Heupel runs a fun brand of football. You can't get any better than that with Josh Heupel. That's what he said. He didn't say championships. He said Josh Heupel runs a fun brand of football. He did say championships with Kim Caldwell, but you're right. He specifically said she runs a fun brand of basketball. You know who else runs a fun brand of basketball? Nate Oates, who Danny White hired. You know who has 0 national championships right now at this moment? Nate Oates. You know who else runs a fun brand of the sport they coach? Scott Frost. You know who got fired at Nebraska after they didn't have Florida athletes to run that fun brand? Scott Frost. I've always believed, Dave, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, that coaches who run that are great game planners, who run a very intelligent system, not necessarily pro style coaches, but run like a very, kind of cutting edge system, that does win you a lot of games. I haven't seen a lot of proof that wins you championships, though. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Steve Spurrier had the most fun brand of football. He backed into his only national title. He didn't win any other national title. That was a lucky national title that he got.
No, I agree. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button right now, and subscribe if you haven't to this point. We certainly appreciate you getting on board. So I'll ask you this question. Do you worry that it's more about splash than it is championships? So let me ask you that question, because I think it is a fair one. I think if you looked at Josh Heupel and you're Danny White and you think, I'm 50% certain he's going to succeed, whereas you're maybe 45% certain another guy is going to succeed, or maybe slightly more certain, you're going to take the guy with the exciting offense. It's why I say, and I've always used this saying with high school coaches, always fear the good-looking coaches. Because the good-looking coaches most oftentimes are the ones that win a press conference and don't win at a high level. That is just an absolute fact. The Hemp House, it's a fact that they're the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off 10% off. Promo code HOOK for 10% off. I will say this, though. At least he doesn't just try to, talking about Danny White, win the press conference in terms of you could just hire a name to win the press conference. Let's take John Gruden, for instance. Now, that was always obscene. That was never going to happen. However, had it happened, we had no reason to believe he would be a great college coach. He may have been very average. I don't know that. He was a good NFL coach, but
there's questions about his NFL success too, by the way, about why he was that good.
But I give Danny White credit for not getting caught up in a guy that might give you a little bit more pub. He doesn't care that you don't know who Josh Heupel is. He doesn't care that you don't know who the new women's basketball coach is. That's not, he creates some excitement, but it's not at the behest of going and getting somebody that has a name that you pay more money to that may be beyond their best years. Fair?
Exactly. No, totally agree. And he wants to win you over with the fun brand of the sport that they're coaching at the time. So he hired, let's think about back when he hired Josh Heupel at UCF. Yes, he struck gold at UCF, but why did he hire Josh Heupel at UCF? What was Josh Heupel? He was putting up record offenses at Missouri. Now, it wasn't like Missouri they went like 7-6, Heupel's last year, but they were averaging over 400 yards. And Danny White said, hey, a coach that averages over 400 yards, get him at UCF, he'll put butts in the seat. I think one of the things Danny White does, and I don't know if you need to do this at Tennessee or not, he very much approaches hiring as if he's at a, shall we say, maybe a little bit of a lesser school. Because if you're at a UCF, you do need to hire for splash and entertainment, right? Because that's going to be what sells tickets, and you got to sell tickets.
And I think the latest hire probably proves that. The Campbell hire probably proves that he wants value in that hire. It's almost the NFL comparison of getting that rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, isn't it? Except you don't have those. I mean, I think he thinks he got a good deal in Josh Heupel, not just a good coach, but a good deal. I think he feels like he's got a good deal in Barnes. I think he feels like he's got a good deal now with the women's basketball coach as well.
It's like the best I could say is like, it's like in the NBA where, he's not going to try to steal a headline by hiring a name coach. It won't work out. Like when the Knicks hired Phil Jackson as general manager, most headline stealing move of all time.
Thank you. That is a very, very good example.
Yes, exactly. But he will do something like, if he were an NBA executive, he'd take Allen Iverson on his team. Now, Allen Iverson's never going to win you a championship, ever. He can't win a championship. He is way too much of a black hole of a player. He's ball hog, just too many issues. But he was going to put people in the seats with this play, wasn't he? Because he was going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with you on the win you a championship. I think he could have. I think he had nothing. But that's a conversation for another day. So go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't to this point, and give me your thoughts. Do you worry that Danny White is too splashy in some of his hires, that they're not proven guys? Well, the simple fact is he didn't have that opportunity with the women's basketball coach because the proven cats aren't going anywhere. The Mulkeys, the Ariemas of the world, the Don Staleys of the world. So then perhaps you have a Gottlieb type, but there's a pretty big drop off after maybe 2 or 3 walls at Kentucky that you might have, that you do have to start thinking like you're a smaller school and get an up and comer. You've got to do it.
Yeah, you do. That's absolutely necessary. And I think particularly with women's basketball, let's call it what it is, guys. The Lady Vols were running a boring brand of basketball. And the Lady Vol contingency that I've criticized were insisted that you have to stick with this brand, which is a terrible brand. Okay? So I'm sorry, Danny White had to make a move. And it was also, by the way, kind of similar. I'll be honest, Dave. 2020 with Jeremy Pruitt, there was some fan apathy like I had never seen with Tennessee with the way they played. So I think that, quite honestly, Danny White made a splash hire, or he makes splash hires. I'm not sure that's going to translate to championships for Tennessee. And by the way, Tennessee, I think overall Directors Cup athletics right now is 5th. But when's the last time they actually brought home hardware in any sport?
No, I mean, I think you have to ask yourself, if Danny White as a whole, and people want to ask this about Josh Heupel, is he a guy that builds a program to a point and then can he win a championship? Don't you have to ask that about Danny Heupel as well? I'm sorry, about Danny White as well?
You do right now. Now, again, he's won conference championships at lower levels. Scott Frost and Josh Heupel both won American titles and both had undefeated regular seasons. That's the max of what's possible at that lower level. So he did reach the max. But can he reach the max of what's possible at the max level with these hires? This is kind of, I don't like to do the conspiracy thing because you know how sometimes people try to float a conspiracy, but they don't want to get caught. They'll be like, I'm just asking questions. But I am just asking questions here. I'm just wondering.
You are just asking questions. And at some point, you have to ask yourself a question. If you're a Tennessee fan, is Danny White hiring guys that Arkansas could have hired? Because the simple fact is anybody can go hire a Sam Pittman, but can you hire somebody that's going to be an up-and-coming great coach and win championships? You can have your Sam Pittmans all day long. Those guys are out there. But if you want to be relevant and you want to be a program that matters, you better hire somebody better than a Sam Pittman. You better hire somebody better than a Bobby Petrino, the guys you've hired over the years. And Arkansas has had that struggle. You don't want to be an Arkansas, certainly not. Portions of the program brought to you by our good friends at BetUS. BetUS, Caleb with a nice new haircut. Brought to you by our friends where you get 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. That's BetUS. Hit the like and subscribe button now.
America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
All right, so let's get to this, Caleb, as we have determined that there's reason to be concerned about Danny White being a splash hire guy, but we don't have enough info yet for that to be the case. Now, this all comes from making hires, and credit Arkansas for making a splash hire. They did in John Calipari, and credit them for getting that done. If they had any sort of organizational skills in football, they would have a more relevant football program. Not to belabor Arkansas football, because they are doing the best they can.
They're trying really hard out there.
They're trying their darndest. All right, so Mark Pope, just keep trying. Keep working at it. Keep pushing. Is it pulling that rope? Is it pushing? In case you all don't know, there's a bunch of people on Twitter that's making fun of us that are Arkansas fans because
because they think it's totally normal to have a press conference that's like a starting lineup, and you know.
Yeah, I was ready for that Michael Buffer. And now coming in at 6'5", 220 pounds from the University of Kentucky with more hair gel than you can possibly imagine, John Calla. If you could, I would take 2, Perry. My gosh, that was awful. That was your fan. I mean, that was your.
It was you said it right. It was a middle school pep rally.
Your college put that together and you're mad at me, Arkansas fans? Your school put it together. They did that. Do we want to play it again? Because I didn't do it. I didn't put that together, Caleb. I didn't put together the John Calipari introduction pregame ceremony. I didn't do it.
I also didn't prop up John Calipari by naming a bunch of players who never won a national championship playing for John Calipari. All of them underachieved when they played for John Calipari, and that's who Arkansas touted to say, look, these guys committed to John Calipari, and so we're going to be good too, even though John Calipari never won with any of them.
Right.
That was how that's how the Arkansas brain worked, guys, in this one.
Yes. So we got to come back Rocky Flop. That's the best. Come on, you can do better than that.
Oh, wow, that's so original. By the way,
get your Arkansas fans.